Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ethan Wood, and today we are talking about Snow White and the controversy that is the live-action remake that came out on March 21st, 2005. Now, not only that, but we're also going to talk about why Snow White was so hated and why Disney keeps making live-action movies and what they need to do in the future. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so if you're anything like me, you probably expected the Snow White movie to not do so well. So when I heard that it wasn't doing well, I was like, yeah, okay, that was pretty much expected. After all the controversies that we heard, I think we are all expecting this movie to tank. So let's get into a couple of the facts of the movie. So it's called Snow White, based off of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which came out in 1937, and is supposed to be a loose adaptation of that movie, which is kind of what we saw a little bit. We'll get into that more later. The budget of the film was $240 million, and in order to market this film, it was about $100 to $150 million. So in total, you're spending around $400 to $450 million on the movie, which to date, as of today, which is March 26th, that is the highest budget live-action Disney movie that they have ever created, which was probably for a few reasons, but let's get right into that. So the controversies began back a couple of months ago when they cast Rachel Zegler as the main actor. Now, Rachel, she is Polish and Colombian, so already people were a little frustrated that they cast a character which is supposed to have skin as white as snow as someone who is Polish and Colombian. And it's like, you're basing this very loosely off of the original, but obviously it's not going to be the original. So I was like, okay, that's fine, we'll move on from there. So then after that, we started to kind of realize Rachel Zegler and her political opinions, which, two things. One, she's extremely woke. So honestly, Disney made a really good hiring decision because that's exactly what they want to do. That's their whole thing. So they're trying to push a more woke agenda. So it made sense to hire her. But I think she should have kept a lot of this to herself. So I found a video with all my favorite Rachel Zegler clips, and I hope you guys enjoy it right here.
I'm a narcissist. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. That is wild. That is a wild clip of her. And I think, okay, first off, she not only called the prince a stalker, which as a dude is like, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to like pursue you. That is like my job in life. That's the one thing. Let me do that, please. I'm not trying to be creepy. Bruh. But also, she said it's not a love story, which is like, what is Disney's whole thing? What have I been watching for the last 50 years? I really thought that I was watching a love story. I really thought that that's what Disney was trying to push for a really long time. I'm pretty sure every single movie that they've created has had some sort of love drama at the center. But no, I guess what we've been watching for 50 years isn't relevant anymore because we are on a new trend. We're on a new scope of life. Things are different now. We don't do love between guys and girls. We do love between everyone else, and guys and girls, especially guys, don't get the spotlight anymore. That's just how the world works, I guess. I'm being dramatic. My bad, guys. But this only got worse when the dwarf fiasco happened. So read this article here. It says, on-set photos of actors portraying dwarfs cause anger and confusion. Confusion and frustration erupted in online circles after the Daily Mail published on-set photos of Snow White that, per the outlet, showed how the dwarves have been replaced by magical creatures that were a mix of genders, ethnicities, and heights, which they didn't mention that they were also CGI, but you can see that from the photo. They look CGI'd. It's a little freaky, I'm not gonna lie. Which is exactly what people were saying. I was not the only one who said that. The dwarfism community was extremely frustrated by this because they're like, first off, why didn't you just cast people with dwarfism as the dwarves? That just makes sense and was probably gonna be a lot cheaper if you just did that and so much easier on their end. But not only that, they also CGI'd them to look a little freaky. So people online were like, it just looks bad. It just looks bad. Like, why are we even wanting to watch this? I don't want to watch this. I think I would walk away and be like, well, that's going to haunt my nightmares for the rest of my life. So I completely agree with them in this, and I think it's all crazy. All of these things, it's all crazy. It destroyed the reputation of the movie. The red carpet event was toned down, toned down because of this. And on opening weekend, it only grossed $42.2 million domestically and $43.9 globally, which wasn't even close to making back the $450 million that they spent trying to produce this film. So this is kind of the trend of live action movies. Some have been big hits, but most have been pretty big flops. A couple of big ones to note: The Little Mermaid cost about $450 million and made about $568 million, which is not a very good profit in the film world, even though that's an $100 difference. That is not a great profit. Cruella cost about $300 million to make and made about $233.5 million after it was all said and done. Now, a couple recent major successes, which I do want to highlight and give them credit, are The Lion King, Aladdin, and Beauty and the Beast, which, if you look at how much it made domestically in the United States, it was not making that much profit. They're making a lot of their profit globally in other countries. So this kind of brings us to the main question of today. Why does Disney keep making live actions if it seems like the general trend is no one wants to watch them? Well, I have a couple of thoughts on this. The first one we've kind of hit on and is kind of obvious is I think Disney is trying to rebrand. Now, no one's really saying that outright. People are saying, oh, Disney's going down a different path. Disney is going down the leftist liberal agenda, whatnot. Disney's going woke. I think they're trying to rebrand. I think it goes even deeper than that. I think this is a very intentional step that they are making and are going to continue to make until there's a leadership change. So why they're doing this, I have no idea, other than someone's trying to push their own narrative and agenda, because it's not a good marketing strategy. They're marketing towards children who do not care about politics. And if you're doing that, then just keep it simple. I don't know why you're trying to market towards children in this way, because it's just, as someone who's like studying marketing right now, it is not a good move at all. They're trying to operate the patriarchy, go against gender norms, be inclusive, all of those things. It's in all their content. It's very, very obvious. They're not trying to sugarcoat it or cover it up. They're being very blunt about it, and honestly, they love what they're doing. However, the old movies are completely different than this. They actually had strong male figures. They had gender roles that were respected. They had kids who were respectful. And now they've tried to flip the narrative. And I think this is all an intentional effort from Disney to change the entire course of their company and change the narrative in today's culture. Now, also, I think that this is probably a business plan that they chose a couple of years back and have stuck with because they don't have another idea to go with. So it makes sense that if you're wanting to make something that people love, you would just find the old stuff and then you would just base your new stuff off of the old stuff, which is exactly what they were doing. However, there's a lot of problems with this, and I think this is something they didn't account for, but it's so true because I've lived it, and now I know how these live actions kind of hit with audiences. So 3 things can happen. 1, they copy the original script and the screenwrite, and they basically just make a replica of the old. Now, that's great. However, it's boring and no one wants to watch it because it's literally the same thing except a little bit slower, a little bit more clunky, and a little less like fun, animated, yay. Number 2, you make an entirely new story, kind of like Mulan. You kind of just go off on your own way and do whatever you want. This makes people very confused and honestly frustrated because they loved the original and now they have to deal with something that they haven't seen before and didn't ask for. Number 3, and this is the one that I think is their best idea, but it's still not great, is you make your live action based off of the original, so it's loosely connected, kind of like Mufasa. And this is great, but people are going to realize it's not the same. And I think that that's the general trend. It's not the same as the original. So it makes sense to make a live action every so often to, say like, oh, we're going to remake this movie because we had some time and we love to do that. That would have been a great strategy. And then just make other things, have other people with creative ideas. I think that's the thing. There are so many people out there with creative ideas, with new ideas, but apparently we aren't going to hire them or look for them and we're just going to keep making live actions. I really don't understand because it's not a sustainable business plan for them. They can't just make this their only thing. In fact, I was looking online, and in 2023, the only thing that Disney produced was sequels and live action remakes. That was the only thing that they did. And it's kind of showing, because we're realizing that Disney doesn't have any original content. Honestly, their storytelling and their quality has gone downhill all the way. It's been terrible to watch. It makes me really sad because I love Disney. So I think in the end, Disney will not survive if it does continue down this trend. And honestly, after so much political agenda pushing, I think that they need a wake-up call. Someone needs to come and tell them to return to their roots and build trust with their audiences again, or else we're not going to have a Disney soon. And honestly, at this point, I think I'm okay with that. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy the content. I would love if you guys would consider liking, subscribing, and commenting down below. No pressure, but if you would like to, I would love that. I try to come out with this content pretty frequently, and I hope you also notice that I try to be real. I try not to cut out all the times I stumbled over my words. I try not to sugarcoat it. I try to be real. So if you guys have any suggestions on content that I can be making in the future, I do take that into consideration and would love to make stuff that you guys want to watch, because it's about all of us, not just me. I hope that we can redeem Hollywood one day and we can continue to redeem the film world. Stay thoughtful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.